In 1955, a black woman in Detroit's Black Bottom scrubbed other people's kitchen floors for a wage that barely covered her rent. And yet, every stranger who passed her took the older black woman for a woman of means. On an ordinary Thursday evening, stepping out for a single spool of thread, she wore a pressed dress, clean white gloves, a hat set just so, and shoes buffed bright enough to catch the street light. A stranger at the corner store took the older black woman for the pastor's wife. Another took her for the new school teacher. Ernestine Boyd was neither. She could not afford a single new thing, and still, no one could ever tell the difference. Her mother had taught her that how a black woman left the house was the first argument she made for her own worth, and the hardest one to answer. Most of what Ernestine knew about carrying herself went into the ground with her. She was not unusual. Across Bronzeville and Sweet Auburn, the Fillmore and Beale Street, working black women left the house every morning looking like they were expected somewhere that mattered. It was never only about looking put together, it was a craft, and in the world these African American women were sent into, it was also armor. Where they lived, a wrinkled hem could cost a black woman a job, a seat, the benefit of the doubt at a counter. So, they turned getting dressed into a discipline and wore it the way other women wore perfume. We were left the closets. Most of us were never shown the code that filled them. Rule 11 took a black woman less than a minute at the sink, and it was the first thing another woman read in a greeting before a single word was spoken. Rule 9 goes against everything we are sold today about looking like you have money. These African American women often owned fewer things than the people around them, not more, and looked richer for it. And Rule 2, the single thing a working black woman guarded like the deed to a house and left to her own daughter, let her walk into a room built to look right past her and refuse, head to foot, to disappear. These 15 rules were never about being flashy. Flash was for women who needed to be looked at. This was the quiet discipline of black women who refused to be looked down on. They dressed for respect in a country that worked hard to withhold it, and for their own dignity on the days nobody was watching. Then the world changed. We mistook the code for vanity and let it go quiet. We are turning the sound back up. Rule 15, the one good coat that held the line. A respected black woman owned one good coat and made it last 10 winters. Heavy wool, brushed clean, hung the moment she came through the door. Hattie Grimes wore the same wine-colored coat for 12 winters in Chicago's Bronzeville and never once looked cold or looked cheap in it. You bought heavy, you bought once, and you cared for it the way it cared for you. The black women who came up in the Great Migration learned fast that a northern winter judged a poor woman twice, once for her color and once for her coat. So they answered with wool that outlasted both. One heavy coat bought to last a decade. The coat kept out more than the cold. It kept out the verdict. Rule 14, the mending nobody saw. A loose button, a fraying cuff, a hem coming down. On Auburn Avenue in Atlanta, it was fixed the night a black woman noticed it, not the week it finally gave way. Cleotha Vance, a black woman in Cleveland, could set a hem by lamplight after a full day on her feet, rather than be caught the next morning with a thread hanging loose. In a time when a black woman was sold the cheapest cloth at the highest price, the needle was how one good dress served for years. You never let the world see the wear before you had answered it. A poor woman and a careless woman looked the same from across the street, so the careful black woman closed that gap with thread. The repair was invisible. That was the whole point. If these are the rules you were never shown, take 1 second and subscribe. We are counting all 15 of them down, one at a time. Rule 13, the seam runs straight. In the years of seamed stockings, a black woman checked the line up the back of each leg before she stepped out and kept it straight all day. Geneva Prather would stop and fix a crooked seam on the Fillmore in San Francisco no matter who was waiting on her, because a crooked line undid a sharp outfit in a single glance. In the 1950s, a Black woman's turnout was read like a signature. The church mothers, the school teachers, and the beauticians all knew a careless seam marked a careless woman, and she got looked past first. You gave the small things the same care as the large ones. The seam proved the rest was on purpose, too. Nothing about her was left to chance. Not a stitch, not a seam. Rule 12. The clean white square. A clean white handkerchief rode in every Black woman's handbag, and half its use was for other people. A crying Black child, a friend sweating at the bus stop, a young mother caught in the rain. On Beale Street in Memphis, it was offered before it was asked for. Doshia Monroe, a Black woman on Beale Street, carried two, one for herself and one already promised to whoever needed it. You came prepared to be of use, not only to be seen. Carrying a small kindness folded in a handbag was its own quiet statement of who a Black woman meant to be. The square cost a few cents. What it said about her was worth more. Rule 11. The hands she could offer. Before she left the house, a Black woman looked hard at her hands. Nails clean and trimmed, knuckles right, a dab of cream worked well in. Maybelle Dunn, a Black woman in Birmingham, scrubbed floors and washed other people's linens all day and still put a clean, soft hand out every evening, because the first thing another woman felt in a greeting was the truth of how she kept herself. A little Pond's, a little Vaseline, a minute at the sink no matter how tired the day had left her. You did not let your labor be read as neglect. A working Black woman's hands told where she had been. Cared for ones told who she still was. Rule 10. The hair set and laid. A Black woman did not leave her hair to chance. Every week or two she was in the kitchen chair or the beauty shop, washed, greased at the root, pressed and set until it held. Naomi Ford sat for her set every Saturday for years in Chicago's Bronzeville and was never once seen with her hair gone rough. A tin of Royal Crown, a jar of Dixie Peach, a warm pressing comb on the stove, and a scarf tied down at night to hold it. You kept yourself laid at the edges, where everyone looked first. The beauty shop was one of the few rooms in Black life that belonged entirely to Black women, and a fresh press was both grooming and standing in it. Rough and undone was not rest. It was a Black woman who had stopped paying attention. Rule 9. Fewer but better. The put-together Black woman often owned less than the women around her. 2 good dresses, not 7, but the 2 were fine and kept perfect. On Auburn Avenue in Atlanta, a dress was bought on layaway, months of waiting, until the good one was carried home. Ophelia Means, a Black woman on Atlanta's Auburn Avenue, wore 3 dresses in rotation for years and was the best turned out woman at every funeral. Layaway was how a working Black home bought anything that mattered, $1 a week until it was paid clean. You bought quality you could keep, not quantity you could not. These Black women knew what modern sense forgets. Fewer things, fully tended, read richer than a closet full. That was the part nobody could buy their way past. Rule 8. The fittee no woman was born with. No Black woman wore a dress the way it came off the rack. The shoulders were taken in, the waist brought to her exact shape. The hem stopped right where it should. Verna Cobb, a Black woman in sweet Auburn, had one good dress recut 3 times as her shape changed, and it fit her better at 60 than it had at 30. A seamstress, often a neighbor on the block, made cheap cloth sit like money. You made what you had fit you exactly, because fit was the difference a stranger felt before she knew the price. The Black seamstress turned the modest cloth a Black woman could afford into a bearing the world could not dismiss. Off the rack was only a starting point. The fit was the woman. Here is what nobody talks about. Somewhere between the closing of the corner seamstress, the emptying of the old blocks, and the scattering of Black homes across cities never built for them, a whole apprenticeship went quiet. There used to be a place where a young black girl learned how to carry herself from grown black women who owed her nothing but the one duty every woman felt back then, to show the next one how. A black mother showed her the iron. An aunt on the block showed her the brush and the scarf. The old head on the porch showed the young black girl how a Sunday hat was meant to sit, and when the white church gloves came off, and for whom. Nobody charged for it. It happened in a kitchen off Beale Street before dawn, and on the church steps after the last hymn. Black women did not decide to stop teaching it. They lost the rooms where the teaching happened, and their girls have gone out the door undefended ever since. The habit did not fail. The room it was taught in simply closed. Rule 7. The hat that spoke twice. The hat was set with a clean intention, squared and tilted just so, never crushed, never careless. And it meant something the moment a black woman wore it into the sanctuary. Thelma Rowe brushed her good felt hat every Sunday night in Harlem and could set it on her head in a way that made the whole outfit stand up straight. You wore it with care, and you wore it like it mattered, and both halves counted. A hat could be years old and still look like money if a black woman kept it brushed and blocked and never let it slump. In a room full of Sunday hats, a black woman was reading every other crown and being read in return. Worn with care, it was bearing. Worn into church, it was a black woman announcing she was somebody. Rule 6. Ready for the corner store. A black woman did not save her good self for Sunday alone. To buy a stamp, pay the light bill, or walk to the store for milk, she was already put together. Beulah Hicks, a black woman in Birmingham, would not step to the corner in anything she would be ashamed to be remembered in. You assumed you would be seen and judged, because you would be. This was the hard arithmetic of being twice as good. A black woman knew a single undone morning could become, in a stranger's mind, the verdict on her whole people. So she never once gave the world that picture. She dressed for the errand. The errand never caught her short. Rule 5. The dress kept for the Lord. However hard the week had been, Sunday had its own dress, the best a black woman owned, pressed Saturday night and hung ready. She did not wear it anywhere else. Rosetta Biggs laid hers out every Saturday for 40 years in sweet auburn and put it on like a woman stepping into her better self. Dressing all the way up one morning out of 7 was a weekly act of rising. The black church was the one place in that world where a black woman was fully somebody, and she dressed to meet it. The ushers in white gloves, the mothers of the church in their crowns, every pew a quiet statement that here at least dignity was the rule. The Sunday dress was never about the cloth. It was a black woman telling herself exactly who she still was. Rule 4. The shine on her shoes. The shoes told the room how a black woman saw herself before she opened her mouth. Whatever the dress cost, the shoes were wiped, buffed, and shined by the back door most nights. Classy Lyles, a black woman on Central Avenue in Los Angeles, shined hers every evening, and the folks who had looked past her all day still stood straighter when she walked in. You did not let your feet betray the rest of you. A scuffed shoe said a black woman had given up somewhere. A bright one said she had not and would not. Not vanity. It was a black woman telling a whole room that no one would write her off. Rule 3. The dress pressed sharp. Whatever the week had held, a black woman left the house pressed, collar crisp, a dress ironed so clean it looked new. Rowena Garrick heated the iron before a day of work that paid her less than the woman beside her in Bronzeville, and walked out looking like the lady of a house she would never be allowed to keep. The press came from a flat iron on the stove, a little Argo starch in the collar, and a steady hand at the board before dawn. You wore the press like armor against a world that wanted to read poverty into your skin. The wrinkle was what the world expected. The press was what answered it. It cost nothing but the will to use the iron, pressed in fresh every morning. Rule 2. The one fine dress guarded like a deed. A working black woman might own one truly fine dress in her life, and she guarded it like the deed to a house. Brushed after every wear, hung on a proper hanger, mended the instant it needed it. You owned one thing the world could not argue with, and you made it last. Luvinia Scott, a black woman in Sweet Auburn, bought hers on layaway over a year, wore it to every wedding and every funeral for 2 decades, and then she left it to her daughter. In a country that denied black homes the house, the loan, and the inheritance other people took for granted, that one fine dress was real worth a mother could actually leave behind. For a black woman, the country tried to keep invisible. It was the armor she put on to refuse, head to foot, to disappear. The dress was worn. What it carried her through was a lifetime. Rule 1. Clean and pressed. The simplest rule on this whole list, and the one that held up every other. It did not matter what a black woman owned or what it cost. Whatever she had, it was clean, and it was pressed, and it was worn like it mattered. The poorest black woman on the block and the best-kept woman on it met at the same plain standard. There was no trick to it. No money required, no seamstress, no fine cloth, just the unfashionable discipline of a black woman taking the little she had and presenting it with full respect for herself and for everyone who would lay eyes on her. A black woman could be poor and still be immaculate. That was the whole code folded into 2 words: clean, pressed. Everything else was only detail. None of this required money. That is the part we keep missing. No fine store could stock it. No charm school could ever sell it. A black woman did not need a single dollar. She needed a hot iron, a scarf, a needle, 10 minutes, and the decision that she was worth the trouble. The black women who pressed their own dresses before dawn and set their own hair at night understood something this country tried hard to make them doubt: that how a woman presents herself is an argument about her own worth, and that she does not need anyone's permission to make it. They were not dressing for the world's approval. The world had made plain it would not give it. They were dressing in spite of it, and reminding the young black girls watching them of the one thing the world denied: that they were women of dignity. The closets emptied and the irons cooled, but the thing those black women were doing is not lost. It waits in a clean dress and a hot iron for anyone willing to pick it back up. Everything these black women knew, every rule and every routine, is gathered and written down at blackgrandmasvault.com. And the black women who knew it, the pressed ones, the laid ones, the ones who refused to look like what the world paid them, left behind something that outlasted every one of them.